My name is Tom Heaton and I am the game director on Medan.
I'm Greg Howson, I'm the communications director at Supermassive.
Hey guys, Gabriel from Zero Killers. We are at the Man of Medan preview event, and yes, let's shoot the questions. So as first question, why episodes, or why do an anthology or separate games?
I guess Supermassive Games is best known for Until Dawn, and after we finished Until Dawn, we were thinking what to do next, what our next game would be. We're big horror fans at the studios. We at the studio we love horror movies. We talk about them all the time, and we've built up expertise in making horror games and making branching narrative games. So that we knew that's what we wanted to do, was a cinematic branching narrative horror game. But horror isn't just one thing. Horror has lots of different subgenres. Zombie movies or slasher movies, haunted house. It's always a type of horror. And we made a list of 39 different subgenres of horror, and occasionally we'll come across a new one and think, oh, we missed that one off, and we'll add that one as well. So what the anthology gave us the opportunity to do was to create. Was to explore those subgenres. Each game in the anthology is something very new and different. It's got a different narrative, a different cast. You don't have to have played earlier games in the anthology. You can jump right in if it's something you particularly like. And it allowed us to get to grips with those different subgenres, understand them, and really make something compelling in that genre.
And also to add, horror as well has got a real history of anthologies as well. There's whether it's publishing, whether it's TV. So it's very, anthology format is great for horror.
So it's the first game in an anthology, so it's pretty early, but could you give us any details or hints on the numbers of games you're planning on doing?
Well, we currently have 5 games in development for the Dark Pictures. Some are in very early stages of development, just the concept stage. Some are much more advanced. We're planning to release 2 games a year. I can't give you any details about the games that haven't been announced, but I will say they're all very different. Mm-hmm. They are in the Supermassive House style. They will be branching narratives. They will be multiplayer, which we've announced today. Mm-hmm. But they'll all be very different.
So you mentioned the subgenres or generally horror. Could you go into detail, what was your research for the games, or are the games going to be based on actual horror stories, or are you going to reinvent the stories?
Okay, so one of the things we do when we're working out, creating a new story, is we look for things in the real world that are already out there, myths or legends, folklore. It could be anything, and we're looking for something that has some mystery about it. For Man of Medan, which is largely set on a ship in the middle of the sea, there's loads of folklore relating to the sea, but there was this specific legend of a ghost ship, the Orang Medan, which was found floating in the Pacific and with the crew all dead, and no one knew why. What's nice about it, one of the things we look for, is that because of that mystery, because there's not too many details, we're quite free to make up our own stuff, and we can run with it and create a compelling narrative around that event.
So back to the studio, why do you always focus on horror games, or why is it like your DNA from the studio?
We're just very enthusiastic about it at the studio, but also you build up expertise in a studio. Horror is not an easy genre to get right. Mm-hmm. We're committed to a very cinematic vision, so players playing our game will see something that looks like a movie with very high production values. We're very influenced by movies, so we have lighting artists and camera artists who will get movie style cameras and really get the feel of it, and the audio as well. All of that is expertise, and it was difficult to acquire that expertise, and this is the sort of story that we do best.
So you mentioned already the multiplayer online co-op. Could you go into detail with that? Was it challenging for you, or Could you give us any hints on the features for the final game?
Sure. So, yeah, Medan and all the Dark Pictures games feature two-player online co-op mode, and what that means is a friend can join you in the game, and you can play the whole adventure together. You'll be controlling different characters at different points in the game, and sometimes you're together in the same environment and you're doing the same thing. You're kind of talking about what you're going to do next, having conversations, maybe planning. Sometimes you're in the same environment, but you're doing different things. You're exploring, you're doing your own thing. You can ignore the other player if you like, or you can join them in what they're doing. And then sometimes you're in completely different parts of the world, and you don't know what the other guy's doing. The story is continuing. A bit of the story is continuing without you. When you meet up, you can kind of choose whether to give them the information you've got. It's a very compelling mode. It arose because we saw how people played Until Dawn, that they played it very socially. They wanted to talk about it, and we just thought this would be a great thing to be able to give players, that they would really enjoy that and be able to play the game and get a different perspective on the story.
How does the offline multiplayer work, like in front of the TV together?
Okay, so we have another multiplayer mode called Movie Night. And the idea with Movie Night is that you invite a bunch of your friends round to play the game. It supports 2 to 5 players, and you can put your names into the game, and you can assign characters. So you each kind of own a character that you're going to play, and if there's less than 5 of you, you can have more than one character, but you choose who that's going to be. And then when you play the game, the game will prompt you when it's your turn to control the character, and the idea is you pass the controller to that player, and that player makes the decisions, controls the character, decides where they're going to go, has to get them alive through the action sequences. Other players, of course, can offer advice and maybe yell at them for choosing the wrong thing. It's a fun mode. It's a bit of a party atmosphere. We also give out awards every so often in the game. We'll give an award for the person that's slowest at QTEs, or the one that makes the worst decisions, or gets a character killed. And it's again, it's fun. It's to get people talking about the game and just enjoying it. So it's a really fun mode.
Did you also implement some multiplayer features for the online co-op? Like, can you kick the other player when they try to stop the game all the time, or something like that?
No, the online multiplayer mode we've set up that you play with a friend. So the idea is that you can play the story start to finish, and you won't have problems with people being annoying because it's your friend. It's about that, building that social experience and having something that you can talk about afterwards, or talk about during the game if you like. It's up to you how you play, and it's up to you which mode you play first. We know that a lot of people want to play the solo mode first and just to have a single player experience, but if you want to have your first experience of the game with online co-op, that's fine. Find a friend. We'll tell you the story. We'll make sure you understand what's going on, and it's really good fun.
You mentioned the branching part about the anthology. Do you also get a concept for how that's going to be working in the final game, or when all the games are released? Like, do people have to own all the games, or?
No, you can. The games are completely separate, and you can start wherever you like. You don't have to play any of the earlier games. You can dive in at any point. And if you've missed a couple of games in the series, you can dive in and play a game, and if you've enjoyed it, you can go back and play the other games. There's a few links we've made between some of the games in the series, so they're completely unconnected. But for example, there are little Easter eggs in the games that kind of give hints about some of the other games. They're very subtle, they're difficult to find, but we think people will look for them, and some people really enjoy finding all those. And we've got this character called the Curator, who's this old guy, very formally dressed, speaks very formally, and he lives in this place called the Repository, a huge room full of books, and he introduces you to the game, tells you what the game is about, and every so often when you're playing, you'll find yourself coming back to his room, and he'll ask you how you think it's going, and he might offer hints and advice which you can choose to take or not.
So gameplay-wise, what did you improve from Until Dawn? Like the movement of the characters, or something like that?
We look to improve in all areas actually. The major change was adding the multiplayer elements, but another change we noticed. Well, when we released Until Dawn and people started streaming it, which was a very new thing for us, one thing we noticed was that they got into the relationships between the characters so much, and not just the relationships that we'd set up and thought about, but relationships between all different characters, working out who should be with who and things like that. And we loved that. We loved that engagement. It was pleasing that we'd created such compelling characters that they felt they could do that. So we've put features in to help players track those relationships, to understand why characters feel the way they do about each other, what you did as a player that affects that relationship. And we've put in a few special scenes that if characters feel very strongly about another character, if they really love them or really hate them, then sometimes you unlock extra scenes where they express that. So that'll be fun for players to find.
And the other thing as well is that Man of Medan is the most branching game we've ever made. So it's I think we worked out there's 69 death scenes. So you need to play the game about 8 times to see all that. So there's a lot of branching.
So maybe this final question: how does the process work for the casting? Because you always got in Until Dawn and now a big actor. Do you always build up the game like with some actor in mind, or are you just finishing the game and then say, okay, this actor, or finishing the concept and say this actor would be great? Or
it can be a bit of both, really. The first part of the stage is to get a really great concept and really great narrative for the game. We don't think about the branching at that point. We don't really think about the game mechanics. We're just after a very compelling story, a scenario and a situation that we think will be good to explore and will allow us to create these interesting, spooky environments. And then we look at the characters. The characters are so important for what we do, and we try to put together a cast or set of characters that are interesting and complex. We can't make them too good. They have to be kind of a bit in between. They have to have flaws. And they have to be clearly kind of differentiated from each other. So we create this set of characters, and when we're casting, we're just looking for a person that can really bring that character to life. If you get someone of the caliber of Sean Ashmore, who plays Conrad in Man of Medan, he has name recognition, of course, but also he's a great actor, and we have the capacity to capture his performance really accurately now. So you're kind of getting him in the game, and he lifts the rest of the cast. So it's an important component for us.
Thank you for your time. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you.